Welcome to Fantasy News. I'm this week's host, Murphy Napier, filling in for Daniel Green, who's currently swimming in the Amazon because he heard about that giant snake they found a few months ago. He wants to discover another one, not because that one was killed, but because he wants it as a pet, and he's a really big snake enthusiast. Bet you didn't know that about him. I bet I didn't make it up. We're gonna start off the news with some new releases that have been announced, starting with Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. They looked into darkness. The darkness looked back. Adrian Tchaikovsky is an author that I have recently been loving. I loved City of Last Chances and especially House of Open Wounds. Children of Time was amazing, and Put Away Childish Things was tons of fun. And actually, as I'm filming this, I'm not reading any Tchaikovsky, but I will soon be reading his other new release because he puts out like 3 or 4 books every year. And they're such good quality books. Like, they're so well written. Service Model, which was released last month, and I'm gonna be reading it this month. Next book is Space Brooms, which is a sci-fi comedy. Johnny Gomez, a custodian, or space broom, is on Kilgore Station as he teams up with a pair of smugglers to sell a stolen data chip full of video game avatars and finally make his fortune. I have been on a big sci-fi kick lately, and I love a good sci-fi comedy, and I love this cover. It has a very classic 80s magazine cover kind of feel, so I'm very drawn to this one. Changing the mood completely, next we have A Compendium of Lost Tales. This is the 3rd in this series. I haven't read any of them, but I do think that this cover is delightful. I'm sure there's a lot of details that tie into previous books and into this book that are featured on this cover, and I always love a cover that has those little hidden treats that you don't really understand the meaning of until you've read the story. And the final cover news is a special edition, the short stories written by Patrick Rothfuss. I have featured the announcement by the artist who worked on these covers, and they're stunning. I especially like the narrow road between desires because I think blue is a prettier color than red. But I also just feel that the cover itself tells part of the story of the book, which I think is beautiful. I will say though, The Slow Regard of Silent Things is also a beautiful cover despite being the inferior color.
Look, speaking of things that are perfectly normal, being concerned about hair loss as you get older is a natural part of the human experience, in my opinion. As I'm about to knock into my 30s, I want to be taking the best care of my hair as possible. Keeps has all of us covered. They've helped over 1 million men keep their hair and have over 4,500 5-star reviews. And they have multiple FDA-approved treatment options, with the 2-in-1 gel bringing both into a combination treatment. It saves you from having to go to the in-person doctor visit we all dread and is delivered straight to your door in discreet packaging. Not that I think it needs to be. There's no shame in this. The only shame there is feeling shame in natural parts of the human body. Like with a fart. That's normal. It's natural. Let it go. I've been using their styling pomade, their conditioner and shampoos, and all I can say is that my hair has been feeling luscious. So just remember that you're not alone and you're not out of options, because hair loss stops with Keeps. For a special offer to get started, go to keeps.com/DanielGreen or click the link in the description down below. That's keeps.com/DanielGreen.
Moving on from new releases, our first news is that Redbox has filed for bankruptcy. Quote, the company hasn't paid employees in over a week and owes money to almost everyone in Hollywood. The company that owns Redbox, Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment, their bankruptcy filing shows that the company owes money to a number of retailers, including Walmart, Walgreens, as well as major Hollywood studios, Universal, Lionsgate, Warner Bros. And according to the bankruptcy filing, they are in debt a total of $970 million. So the article that's linked in the description is pretty short, but after a little bit more research, it seems as if Redbox was already in the red, already kind of functioning at a loss when this company bought it, and then they were hopefully going to revive it, but has since failed, repeatedly missed payments for a long time, have been sued many times and continue to miss payments even after settling lawsuits, and are now just filing for bankruptcy. The bankruptcy may be bought out, may not be, so the future is still kind of up in the air. But if you like Redbox, maybe make your way over there soon, because I don't know how long that will be available, which is unfortunate because physical DVD rental is basically non-existent now. So for those that still enjoy doing that, one of their major options is now disappearing as well. Maybe. We'll see what follows the bankruptcy filing. When the Hollywood strikes were going on, Daniel covered them extensively. We do have an update on that now, and that a tentative contract deal has been reached. This deal includes pay hikes and artificial intelligence protections that they've been asking for. More specifically, an increase of 7%, 4%, and then 3.5% over the 3-year term. And employees will not be required to provide AI prompts in any manner that would result in the displacement of any covered employee. This tentative deal will affect about 50,000 employees, and there's an additional deal that's still under negotiation that will affect an additional 20,000. So they are making moves in the right direction, it seems. However, this still has to be put up for a vote. So the deal hasn't been approved, so Daniel will likely be reporting on this again in the coming weeks as we find out if this is actually going to happen or if we're gonna go back to the drawing board. But if it works out, we probably won't be having more strikes. Speaking of news that Daniel has covered, last fantasy news, Daniel told you about a Kane Chronicles adaptation.
It has been announced that Disney Plus is going to adapt Rick Riordan's The Kane Chronicles.
That's not happening, at least not right now. Rick Riordan's production company addressed the rumors on Twitter, saying that these are just rumors, that nothing is in production, no deal has been struck, but they are perfectly aware that the fandom wants this, and they probably want it too, but no deals have been made. The whole point of our production company is to develop Rick's books or other writing projects. Rick has discussed Kane's with Disney for years since the books were published, especially as these books were US #1 overall bestsellers when they were first published. No contracts currently are signed, so until that happens, there is no partnership with Disney Plus on a film project to develop Kane's. Hopefully someday. Later on, in a reply to a comment, the production company said this: "One of the things that I've noticed for years now is fans trying to wish things into existence by treating misinformation as fact. One thing that is true, though, is Disney Plus knows the fandom is excited for Kane's to be a real thing because we have told Disney over and over that you all have told us all these years. So nothing is in production, no contract has been signed, but they are aware of what the fandom wants, so maybe someday."
And I'm actually happy that there was one story Murph didn't cover. Sorry if I seem a bit extra disheveled today, goblins. I just drove 7 hours, but I really want to talk about the new Hellboy teaser. I've made it kind of an obnoxious part of my personality that I'm not the biggest superhero fan, but I really like Hellboy. Hellboy ticks a lot of boxes for me. Anyway, we have gotten a teaser for an upcoming Hellboy project titled Hellboy: The Crooked Man. Coming from, of course, Mike Mignola and Brian Taylor. There will never be another Ron Perlman Hellboy, but I don't think that means there should be never a Hellboy again in the live action. And after the 2019 Hellboy film that can really only be considered a rectal level disaster, we can all agree on that terminology, I believe, Hellboy: The Crooked Man looks like a tremendous step in the right direction. I love that this has a smaller budget feel to it. I like that it's not Hellboy in some city again, and instead it seems to be Hellboy in Appalachia. That's my neck of the woods where I grew up. Hell yeah. And having this lower budget horror movie vibe against such an alternative villain setting type for a superhero genre film is just ooh. I don't know too much about the actor taking the reins of Hellboy. I hope they have their own original yet inspired interpretation of the character. And I do not necessarily mind some of the weaker looking VFX shots that are in here. One, it's a teaser, they could absolutely be polished up, but if there's something we have seen time and time again on this channel, a point I made so heavily in my primer video, I don't care if everything's not shot perfectly. I don't care if there's weaker, unfinished VFX. I want good writing. I want amazing acting. I want dedicated craft put in, and yeah, if there's rough edges, I can look past it and see passion. That is what matters to me. And add in some Hellboy aesthetics, put it in Appalachia of all places, and really make it look like a horror movie, and I'm excited.
Next news, Murphy. I know there is a lot of anime and manga news this week. I trust you, but please, I'm begging you, don't be weird. Daniel, I obviously am not going to compromise your vision for the news. Don't worry. Time for Anime Hour. It'll only last 5 minutes, but it may be the longest 5 minutes of your life. We have so much One Piece live action news this week. We're back in production. We got a teaser trailer, and it was basically just the cast of the One Piece live action seeing each other again, going back into the filming location, reuniting. They look so happy, and it made me so happy. I really enjoyed season 1 of the live action, and I can't wait to see what they do with season 2. I have some concerns about the scale of the final arc for what season 2 would cover, but I have been following these actors since the news of season 1, and I love watching them interact, goof off, and have a good time. So I'm just excited to be back into seeing a bunch of clips of them being dumb, as well as I'm very excited for season 2. Speaking of which, we have casting information. Loads of casting have been dropped recently. We have the Baroque works. Mr. 3, Miss Valentine, Mr. 5, and Mr. 9 have all been announced. Frankly, I think they all look awesome for their roles. We also got the announcement for Smoker, Tashigi, Wapool, and Dalton. I have no idea what kind of prosthetics and ridiculousness they are going to make this actor wear to depict Wapool, but I'm so curious to see what their interpretation is going to be. And finally, we also have Dory and Bragi, and we also have Crocus announced, which means we are not skipping Laboon. 4Kids dub. I don't have a ton of commentary on this because they're all gonna be transformed for the role, and really the most important thing is just, can they act, and can they portray who these characters are, their essence, what kind of vibe they bring off in the manga and the anime? Can they bring that to the live action? That's really what matters the most to me, so we're just gonna have to wait and see, but it's still exciting. Now I'm gonna rapid fire some announcements for anime adaptations. Ranma Half is getting a new anime. Once Upon a Witch's Death is getting a TV anime next year. The Irregular Magic High School series is getting an anime film, specifically for the Yotsuba Succession arc. Windbreaker anime is getting a second season next year. The Imaginary, which I can't show you the trailer because Daniel sometimes gets in trouble when he actually plays trailers, but this looks really pretty. It looks kind of like a Ghibli film. This is the second trailer that they've dropped. Demon Slayer is getting a new movie trilogy. And finally, Blackstone is acquiring Japan's largest e-manga site. This is Blackstone's biggest purchase that they've made, I think. And they say they plan on keeping the site running as is and continuing to produce new stories. They say their intentions are good, but I always do kind of get nervous when huge transfers like this happen, because naturally some things are going to change, and sometimes that doesn't work out great. But it looks like they don't have any major changes planned. They're just looking to tap into the powerhouse that is the manga market. There. You know, I think I did it under 5 minutes, and I wasn't even that weird. Next news. And finally, we have some game adaptation news, starting with Star Wars. Star Wars Bounty Hunter has announced a trailer for a game that is now going to be released for PS5 and PS4. Now, this is an old game. It was first released in 2002, and since then, it's already been re-released. Because of that, it seems, in the comments, people are quite confused about what even is this? It seems like the same thing. So I did a little digging, and this is what I could find for you in case you want to know. So this is not a reproduction, it is a remaster. It's going to have better resolution, DualSense features like adaptive triggers, and the light bar now shows your health, and they added an Easter egg. Previously, it was a port based off of the PS2 version with lesser graphics, but now it's going to be a port based off of the GameCube version with better graphics, like a higher poly count and light and shadow effects. There's gonna be better texture resolutions and PS4 and PS5 features. That's what I could find about it, but if this is a game that you've been following and you know more than me, please do let us know in the comments. And finally, Monolith, which is a US-based tabletop game publisher, has announced an official Berserk board game. They haven't said much about it yet because it's just begun the production process, but I'm sure more news will follow as they get further in. Hi, I forgot to end the video. I just watched the One Piece teaser trailer, smiled a bunch, and then walked away. Just completely forgot the outro. But would it be a Daniel video without a cell phone footage cut in? You're welcome.